guys, Megan here, and it's time for another book review. Today, I'm going to be talking about Ironside by Holly Black, and this is book 3 in the Modern Fairy Tale series. So, we are back, hearing things from Kay's point of view. We are also seeing bits and pieces from Royman and Corny's point of view. So, Kay knows she's a pixie now, as does Corny and Royman. Kay and Royman are a couple now, and she wants to prove how much she loves him. She's still hiding the fact that she's a pixie from her family. They have no clue yet. And Royman is trying to keep Kay separate from his court. He does not want her to be one of his subjects, which is understandable, because, yeah, fairy courts are not a fun place to be. They are not, so he wants to try and distance her from that for her own good. And Kay doesn't know how she feels about that. During his coronation, she gets drunk on fairy wine and basically asks Royman to send her on this test to prove her affections to him. And things don't go well for her. He gives her this supposedly impossible task. She must find him a fairy who can tell an untruth. Which is impossible because the Fae cannot lie. They can twist the truth, they can manipulate the truth, and dance circles around the truth, but they cannot lie outright. So she has to solve this insane riddle, and by laws of this quest, she cannot see him until she completes it. And meanwhile, poor Corny, poor Corny, he had some bad luck with the Fae in the last book, and he wants to try and find a way to make himself stronger, more powerful, and just less weak. So there's all that going on. So, yeah, there's all that going on, and a few other things going on throughout the book. And that's really all I can say without giving spoilers. So, without further ado, I'm going to go into the spoilery bit. So, yeah. If you have not read this far yet, I suggest you click away now and come back after. So, Kay eventually does reveal to her mother that she is a fairy, that she is not her biological daughter. That her true daughter was taken away by fairies at some point when they were little. Kay doesn't ever remember being part of fairies, so she has no idea how long she has been impersonating the real Kay. So she reveals to her mom, like, yeah, this is what happened, and her mom freaks out. I think that's pretty understandable if, someone who you thought was your child all these years suddenly realized, I'm not your child. Then, boom, green skin, wings, everything. I think I would be pretty freaked out too. But at the same time, I can understand why Kay was hurt. For all intents and purposes, she is her daughter. But Kay makes a promise to herself and to her mother, I will find your real daughter and bring her back, I promise. And she has actually seen the real Kay in the first book, like a glimpse in the Sallee Court. So she has to go there to find her. And during this, poor Corny gets cursed by a fairy that he tortured. And basically it's like a variation of King Midas. With King Midas, everything he touched turned to gold. But instead of everything he touched turned to gold, because that would be useful, everything Corny touched would die. In a way, it would get corrupt and die and rot and just be really bad. And eventually Kay and Corny go to Lewis, who we met in Valiant. I thought it was really nice to get more crossing over between these books in this book. And he basically takes Kay and Corny to the Sallee Court, and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. Royman is trying not to lose control of his court. The Queen of the Sallee Court is not too thrilled about her former knight being the king of the Unsallee Court now. So there's tension between there. And basically things are going to come down to a duel between a knight, a fighter of the Sallee Court's choosing, and Royman. And if Royman wins, he can still stay king of the Unsallee Court. If he loses, in which he will basically die, he will die, and the Sallee Court will rule both courts. So he has a lot to risk here. but he refuses to just hand over his court without a fight. Corny gets his curse broken. The Slate Queen is messed up. She chooses Royman's own sister to fight against him. And basically, he has to either let his sister kill him, or he has to kill his own flesh and blood. But I like how he gets around that as well. He is very clever. He is a clever guy. But I just love how Kay gets around her quest the most. She basically says, I have found a fae who can tell an untruth. And she basically says, I can lie. And then, of course, one of Royman's advisors is like, you can't tell an untruth. You're a fae. You cannot tell an untruth. And she's all like, well, I say I can. And you say I can't. So clearly, if I'm not lying, you have to be lying, or vice versa. So with that, the quest is solved. And I like how she managed to do it. Kay manages to say she can lie because she can lie down. She didn't specify what kind of lie. She said she could lie, but she was really thinking, I can lie down, basically. So, while she said she could lie, she didn't technically mean she can tell an untruth. She meant she could lie on the ground. And I thought that was really clever, and just play on words, and it was awesome, and go Kay! And also, Kay gets the real Kay back and sends her home. She goes to check up on them from afar, and her mother sees her, and she apologizes for overreacting. She was in shock, and she still loves Kay. She really does. And so basically invites Kay to live back with her. She renames the other Kay Kate, because confusion. And she's trying to help this new little girl adjust being back into the human world after all these years. And Kay's decided instead of moving into the fairy court, she wants to kind of divide her time up, spend half her time in the human world and half the time in the Unsley court with Royman. And I like that, she still wants a life outside of him and being a fairy. Because, she's grown up being human. That's what she knows. But she doesn't want to totally abandon the fairy side of her. She wants to find balance, which I like. So yeah, all in all, I love this series. And I'm really sad that it's over now. And I wish there was more to it. So, that is it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time. So, keep on reading, my fellow book addicts. Keep on reading.